Welcome back, everyone. We kept the break short as possible, and we are thrilled to welcome you to X9 facing Synapse here as our second game for today. The winner of our match here is going to play against Sinners, and as we have just seen, that's going to be a very dangerous opponent. But dangerous is, first of all, the wonderful caster with me here today. Cole, welcome in, my friend.
Oh, thank you, Dyer.
So I have the first question for you immediately. As you said, you did some digging, some detective work in the background. We're going to see the Spirit first, coming out from X9 here. And Spirit has a very interesting map for this event. Some people said, oh, we didn't really expect that. Do you want to introduce us a little bit to Spirit's map?
Absolutely. So this is, of course, the first Spirit set we've seen for this event. And Spirit has been placed on Borgo, the Shattered Square, which I'm pretty sure most people that have played this game since that map came out are not a big fan of this map. And I reached out to Laser, who's head of balance, to ask him, what's the logic behind this? And what he told me was, well, it's really hard to find a good map for Spirit that's not Wrecker's Yard. They wanted to pick something that's a little bit different. And with the rework of Borgo coming in a little bit ago, the map is now at an appropriate size and palette density. So they're also kind of just testing to see, hey, is this map going to be comp suitable? So Spirit's kind of a guinea pig for it as well.
All right, I see. I love that you mentioned not a lot of fans, because I can relate to that, especially because a lot of people had to adjust their filter sets. But it's interesting, right? Because it's also great to see the competitive DBD universe expanding a little bit to these recently added maps, such as, for example, the variations of the Macmillan, which are causing more upside downs than you might think, because of the callouts are a little bit different. But an entire new map is something that really requires the skill from the survivor teams. Like, you have to learn the new tiles, you have to structure your coordination a little bit differently, and we haven't seen a lot of spirits in the winter circuit so far, so it doesn't seem to be a killer who's super popular together with the corresponding map. So my question for you, how do you think this is impacting this best of three we are going to see today?
I think we're going to have to be figuring out in real time what works and what doesn't for this map. Because when I think of Spirit on this map in particular, when you're in phase, you're really dependent on your audio tracking. You are getting the scratch marks, but one of the things that's so frustrating about Borgo is the map itself is just so red everywhere that as a killer player, it's hard to even see the scratch marks normally. So I really wonder if this map is going to throw off the tracking that the Spirit players have.
That's it. That's a good point here, because this tracking, right? Then we are talking back about the early game a little bit, because this pressure that you really want to set onto the survivors early on, and if that doesn't work, resulting in longer chase times, the first good percentages coming in onto the generators, is really something that can throw the teams off here, because both X9 and Synapse are incredibly strong when we are talking about the early game pressure. And that leads us a little bit to the second set, the Blight. So we really do not have a lot of safety today. The team's really not opting to go for anything like weaker M1 related, where you can easily take some body blocks, where you can throw some pallets into the way and really find some cover as a survivor team. With Spirit and Blight, we have a high intensity, zero time game where you can set back, adjust your strategy if something didn't work. Here, the survivors must play perfectly from the get-go, get the pressure set in the early game. And I feel like this allows for some kind of dynamic here. Whoever takes the first set might be a wild prediction, but for me, whoever takes the first set today will also take the second one, because they will have such a great dynamic in the survivor team that I think they can really carry into Blight and Spirit.
Yeah, I agree. Momentum is such a huge thing. And I wanted to highlight, you mentioned the introduction of these new Macmillan maps, and with Blight being put on Suffocation Pit 2, one of the things that we've often seen Blight on in the past is either Blood Lodge or the first Suffocation Pit map. But the change over to the second Suffocation Pit variant is actually kind of big because it's no longer a split map. So it's much harder to just hold 3 or 4 gens on one side and then you're good to go. We saw in our previous Blights that what can happen, now that the map is a little bit more open and rounded, that if you are not able to get your chases and your downs quickly, then it's much harder to actually concretely defend those last gens.
And when we talk about defending final generators, when we talk about the high intensity gameplay, my prediction with the 2-0 doesn't need to be right at all, and that's where we go for the Demogorgon. And honestly, I'm a fan of Demogorgon anyway, because I do feel like it's a killer that really tests the mechanical skill of the teams on both sides when it comes to looping correctly or when it comes to executing the killer correctly. But especially the Demogorgon here as a contrast to Spirit and Blight, if these high-intensity, quick killers are not working, then we're going to come out with the Demogorgon. I feel like this creates such an interesting dynamic that I would almost hope I'm wrong on my prediction and they will go for the end game.
Absolutely. And Demogorgon, in contrast to these S tier sets, is something we've seen a fair bit of already. The ARP choice being a little bit unusual for him. Typically, that map is used for more macro, map-oriented killers, Plague, Artist, Twins, Hag even. With Demogorgon, at least having the mobility on his portals, you can kind of bridge that gap a little bit if you are trying to play more area control. One thing I noted when prepping for this, most of the Demogorgon players we've seen are opting for the exact same build. Corrupt, Tainrez, Pop, Noed, standard add-ons. Wispy is one of 2 Demogorgon players who's actually opted to bring in Forced Hesitation over one of those perks. Wispy was bringing it over Noed. And I was wondering, why would you bring that perk? And the only thing I can come up with is, if you are getting unhooked on ARP, your job is to just book it to the other side of the map because your team will have done gens on the other side while you're hooked. And so if you're trying to 1-for-1 in the Demogorgon's face and he's got Forced Hezi, you don't actually get that much distance once he downs your teammate. So I did note both of those sets. Forced Hesitation was not a winning play. Both killers lost that set they ran it. So I want to see if Wispy runs this back or if he goes for something a little bit more standard.
Yeah, and that's interesting, right? Because what you mentioned, I want to point out the perk build you mentioned, going for the same perks every time, spread through the teams, really shows us that Demogorgon is one of these killers where you need to survive in the competitive environment. You really need to adjust something while in your playstyle, in your strategy, and you need to set the pressure on the survivor team correctly. There's not so much in the competitive environment that you can really make through the perks, because the survivor team knows how to counter you. The survivor team will throw additional resources into your way, such as body blocking, such as covering for each other, confusing the killer, etc., etc. So what you really need to do is come up with your strong base kit of perks that seems to be in agreement across the teams, and then you need to pull something wild. And having that on the tiebreaker is setting us up for a wonderful best of 3, ladies and gentlemen, which we are going to show to you between X9 and Synapse in just a moment.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Wispy is seeing red because, well, we all are. We are kicking off X9 versus Synapse on the Shattered Square. It's Borgo. We've got a Spirit set kicking off with Wispy playing Killer for X9 first, and we're going to be checking around some ruins to see if we can find any of these Synapse survivors, but there does not appear to be anyone in sight just yet. Bit of a split Corrupt as well, so unclear where they might have spawned.
Yeah, trying to find the first survivor here is so important that it's executed quickly. We really want to get the first chase onto the Synapse survivors. Sir, Pale, Mordo, and Dark spreading across the map, trying to find the generators to work on, and it does seem like that Wispy has a better side than I do, because that is a very brilliant port onto Pale here. We are unfortunately at the shack. A very, very difficult and rough tile for a 4.4 killer. Is even the phasing not always the strongest tool. Now going for it after the pallet has been removed from the trial, trying to follow the scratch marks around here, but Pale was actually double backing behind that wall of the shack here, making some distance, and so far the survivors have a good reason to be confident.
Yeah, and this palette here that Pale is playing is kind of a weird one. Borgo has some bizarre tile spawns sometimes, not something that we're used to playing around, and Pale's going to take a tag there, just not quite getting enough distance, as one generator is completed in the distance. And one thing that was really helping Pale there before was that as this first down comes in, Wispy is using his power for mobility, and he had all of his power gone when he first encountered Pale, and that gave him enough time to make it to Shack and get some distance. And we also have another gen so close, no painters allowed on Spirit. I don't know if she'll be able to get there and pop it in time.
And that would be really difficult if we do not reach over to the gen in time. As you mentioned, resources on the Survivor team looking good so far. Phase War coming out to make it quickly. We do reach the gen and we do apply a pop. Goes the Weasel here. No Survivor nearby though, and in a perfect moment, just when Wispy's rotating over to the objective, we are going to see the well-timed unhook immediately, making sure that Pale gets some distance. Again, we do see poor Survivor running over here, but already back in chase with Wispy. Going to be the next phase. Is it going to be the 50-50? And that's not going to be successful. Luckily though, we are going to see a decisive strike. The only thing you need to hit is hitting it, and that's going to be successful here. So a longer run for Pale here, and if the survivors are spreading across the gens as we've seen it in the early game, then I'm very confident we will see at least a second generator here.
Yeah, really unfortunate for Pale. Normally, when you've got your DS, you want to be dying in a spot where you can use your exhaustion right after, but Pale's got the balanced landing. There's really only like 2 spots on the map that he can use that, and unfortunately for him, he was not at one of them. Also, trying to play that sort of great value brand Orman tile on ping is rough, but speaking of rough, 2 more gens have popped for the second hook onto Pale, and that pop is not going to get as much value on a gen with less progress. And there is kind of a loose 3 gen around this hook, as well as the main building gen. But we see someone going for the pull right now.
Yeah, this is really rough. 2 generators as a punishment for the rehook of Pale is really, really well played by Synapse here, and they are going for it once again. Will be interesting now to see if Wispy is still moving forward with the plan of tunneling Pale out, or if he's going to switch over to get stages across the board. But it does seem like we receive our answer here, going to try and find Pale again, and he's able to confuse the killer a little bit, but not enough to get away. That's going to be a quick down. DS has been removed, and as we only allow 1 perk each across the team and no duplicates, that's going to be no chance for anything dangerous anymore. That's going to be the quick elimination right there. Synapse cut down to 3 survivors, 2 generators remaining. We do see 2 survivors changing their position at the moment, so only one of them potentially working on the generators so far. If Wispy gets a quick down from here onwards, he might still be in a somewhat good position.
Yes, Sir is probably going to take a tag here, yeah, but he's got overcome, and all he really has to do now is just go as far away to this side of the map as he can, and that's why Wispy's not committing. Main building gen will pop, but that's not one of the 3 core gens that Wispy's trying to defend. In an S tier set like this, usually you just want to use your exhaustion so that when you take that first hit, you just die in the right spot. And because Sir was doing that, Wispy just is not going to commit to it. And now it looks like Wispy is trying to go for Dark, who just popped main gen, but not quite seeing where she went. They have to pop one of these 3 other gens, and it's an interesting decision, from Wispy to not bring Noed. This is the 1 S tier killer that can actually get value out of this perk, so I wonder if this is a confidence play to know that, I don't need this perk, or if the value on the perk like Agitation to get these death spots harder to achieve is what Wispy's going for. But we found 2 survivors on the reset. They're all healthy at least.
Yeah, I really like that you're touching on the perks there, because have to agree, no one escapes death in this current position where the survivors only have one more generator might make you feel a little bit better here. Also gotta mention that with the sloppy and pop goes the weasel, we really meant to expect a very chase-orientated gameplay that is spreading the pressure across multiple survivors, and so far Wispy has unfortunately not been able to execute that. We haven't seen so much value out of the pop yet. Same for the sloppy butcher. They have went for 1 or 2 resets across the board here, but it was really not a situation where the perks have really punished them. So gotta see how this is going to move on, especially with that 60% generator that we already have in the corner of the Shattered Square here. Wispy unfortunately moving to the other generator, going to find a survivor here, and this might distract them long enough for getting more progress in, but it's going to be a live play right here. Meanwhile, Mordo being picked up in the distance as well. If the survivors are able to stay a little bit, unfortunately, Caster Curse, that injury right there onto Dark here. Now will be interesting though, are they going for a reset again? Do they take time? Or are they going to potentially even overcommit a little bit on the final generator?
That's good patience from Wispy on that hit. And now, the nice thing about playing a 3v1 as Killer is it's easier to track where everyone can be. So, although Unbreakable is in play, there's going to be a heads up here that, well, okay, Kate was working on this gen, probably Ace was picking up the Nancy. So Wispy knows, okay, if I want to try and find that reset, I can do that. If I want to try and pressure Kate some more, I can do that, because I don't have to worry about that 4th survivor. But they were just doubling the other gen this whole time. They're going to pop the last gen.
Wow, that came kinda out of nowhere here, that they were so quick. They must have rotated in a perfect timing here. Now we are already in the end game, and now, again, we would really wish that we would have a no one escapes that, at least for Sir here. The other 2 survivors are still injured. There we see the value from the sloppy butcher. Now, Mordo jumping into the locker, trying to waste as much time as possible, and he will be successful with that. And we will actually see 2 completely fresh survivors, 6 stages moving out of the door here, meaning that the upcoming win condition for Synapse Killer is 6 stages on 3 survivors or 7 stages when 2 eliminations happened. And I don't know how you think, Cole, but I think Synapse can be very happy about starting the best of 3 like this.
Oh yeah, I think that's a very achievable win con, especially if there's an endgame perk in play. I really feel like maybe Wispy didn't have the timing quite right, but I feel like he could have picked Nancy when he slugged earlier and used agitation to carry her deeper into the middle of the map, since he already wants to go that way, and maybe that would have secured maybe a 7-stage game or something like that. But we'll have to see what the killer for Synapse, I'm assuming it'll be Yokat, will do.
It will be Yokat for sure. That he's taking the responsibility for Synapse, I think, in every single killer, in every single round, in every single map. So he's really the all-rounder card, I would say, that Synapse is bringing out here. Haven't seen him play Spirit yet, personally, but we are all excited to witness it after the break. Welcome back, everybody, to the Shattered Square with Yokarex. Our prediction has been right. The all-rounder on the killer for Synapse here, going against Vistuis, Jar, Haunt, and Wispy. And our win condition is quite good for a Spirit. We need either 6 stages on 3 survivors, or we just get 2 eliminations and then at stage number 7. These are the 2 options, but Yokat decides to go through the corrupted area trying to find the first survivor, and that doesn't work so far, so there's a little bit of time loss at the start of the game.
Looks like Vistuis might possibly be the first one in chase here. He has balanced landing. He will go ahead and proc it, but it appears that the Spirit actually just left the area. I'm not sure. Yeah, she's checking different gens, not on Vistuis. Actually, no, does find his scratch mark, so this will be a chase onto Vistuis in the corrupt area. If he was an attack for it makes a pallet. Once again, Borgo Tile is being a little wonky and kind of hard to read visually. Makes it weird to chase on them and kind of bites Vistuis here. But he does make a good read on the pallet 50-50. As chase will continue onto him, he will be heading towards the main building, but I don't think he's going to make the God pallet here before another M1.
Yeah, that's going to be too rough, especially with the ping between these 2 teams, but the ping didn't even come in clutch here. He underestimated how quick Yokad would be able to catch up to him. That's unfortunate because that's going to be the first down in the first hook stage right before the first generator can be completed. However, we do have 3 objectives with a pretty good progress right here. So X9 not wasting anything and Yokad not applying the pop goes to Weasel here, instead staying around the hook as he knows that Ada is already around here. So X9 might get away with all this generator progress, but I think I just jinxed it.
Yeah, there will be a brief detour to pop that 1 gen, but we know a 2nd gen is surely going to pop soon. This will be a tag onto Jaw instead, actually, and it really tickles me the Wispy's Ada fit here. You know, normally you see that trench coat. This is quite possibly the one map in the game where you actually want to run her normal red cosmetic.
Absolutely, yeah, throwing the Spirit a little bit off here so far seems to work. At least Wispy still being healthy and getting away with that. We have 2 tags here, same as in the previous game. We do see the sloppy budget to make resets a little bit more painful, and therefore potentially Vistris and Jar decided to not go for it just yet. X9 really trying to play the aggressive survivor strategy here, trying to get as much pressure into the generators from the get-go as possible, but the mind game not going to land. That's going to be potentially the 2nd hook into the game, but with 2 generators already being completed so far, it can really flip to either side.
Yeah, if Vicious had managed to get away from this out that tunnel, it would have been so huge, but he was going to take a 2nd hook, but the gens are coming out much faster. We need to see what the gens spread is, because if they have split these gens pretty far, that's actually a pretty good gen split. Yeah, I think the survivors of X9 are in a good spot to try and at least pop the last 2 gens. I don't know if they'll actually give away that many hooks. This seems to be a slightly better position for them, I think, than what we had last game. And yeah, Wispy doing a good job of disorienting the Spirit a little bit, who's out of power. Is there a pallet here? I'm not sure, actually. But Yokad just kind of loosely hovering this hook and this chase onto Ada. But other 2 survivors are going to be popping gens in the distance, and you'd have to find Jaw, basically, and then also someone else. You kind of want to get a 4th hook minimum before the end game as that reset comes in, and we're going to be down to 1 gen.
Yeah, that's going to be rough though, because as we mentioned in the previous trial, playing 3v1 allows you to be aware where everyone is, what they are setting up, potentially making all that a little bit easier, and now is the big decision making for Yokad. Who are you going to chase? And we are actually seeing that he's now opting to spread the pressure onto Jar here. If Jar would die, we would have 5 stages. Then you add a 3rd survivor, and then remember the win condition, 6 stages on 3 survivors. Interesting to see that Yokad is changing it, does realize, I believe, that X9 is far more efficient on the generators than he originally believed. So, but the question is now, with 4 survivors still being in the game, they might push it into endgame sooner than Yokad is planning this.
Yeah, if he can get Haunt or Wispy now, all he has to do is make sure they die, because if he gets a 3rd fresh hook, then 6 stages is a win. So I think the choice to go for Jaw there is correct, and he has spotted Haunt over here. He's not going to commit for the chase just yet, possibly looking to find Vicious just for that quick kill, but he does have a decent gen spread, and there's Wispy going for the save. I think Wispy kind of has to abandon this. He does go for the pull anyway.
Yeah, Wispy is now rough, because Wispy would be exactly the stages we would need, and it would be across 3 survivors here. But we are going to hunt Jar one more time to have 2 survivors that can be eliminated with the next hook stage. We'll see if that's going to work out though, because Jar made a very good job here, through the kill off a little bit, made some distance, and also Yokad now being a little bit worried about the final generator. Not entirely sure why he didn't decide to go for Wispy, maybe expecting that X9 would pull a very nice and coordinated safe and making sure that enough stages are walking out of the door here. We are back on Vistris now, our ace, who is going to make some significant distance here, but ultimately will not be able to go for a little bit longer. Going to indicate that here as well. Going down, we do have 75% over here, but with a quick hook, he might be able to reach that in time.
Vicious will die for sure, and Yokad still needs 2 more hooks on someone other than Jaw, basically. And surely the last gen will pop. We'll need to see where the exit gates are split kind of far. They do get the reset in, so you're gonna have to get 2 hits onto someone, ideally, again, Haunt or Wispy. But with Vicious being dead also, an endgame save like we saw attempted in that last Night Owl's Survivor game versus Phenom's Nurse, it's so much harder to try and go for those endgame saves if you don't have that extra body. It will more likely be a 1-for-1, but Haunt will take a tag here at the pallet and he will get a flashlight blind. He will make it to Shack, but there's no Shack pallet here. Vicious uses it to spare his life for a little bit longer as the last gen pops, and you have to be very careful of your Haunt. You are close to basement. Spirit has agitation. That can be a basement hook by an exit gate, and that's going to be very painful to try and rescue. And if Haunt goes second, Yokot wins.
Haunt going second. Alternatively, you can also have Wispy in case rotating in as well. So that's really, really rough now. I mean, even if Jar would come around, you would have hook stage number 6, and then you have 3 survivors. So what they need is kind of what we've seen between Sinners and Night Owls earlier. They will need to go for the rescue, and they will need to all escape here. No one can die. Trading is not possible anymore, and Wispy has already been detected. Makes a circle, runs back into the basement, and the killer, nowhere to be seen, will get the unhook for free. Yokot now just dropping into the basement here. Rescue is coming through. Wispy taking the tag, and now they are all going off towards the exit gate here. Yokot needs a hook stage.
I don't think they have the other exit gate ready. Wispy was positioning for the pole. Ja was working on the exit closest to basement. No one was there to open that other exit gate, so Ja is there, but he has Dead Hard. Keep that in mind. He has an available Dead Hard. That can be the one thing that saves him from Yokot, but a down here is a loss. Yeah, that should be it for Synapse, I think. Once Ja gets hooked.
That is really, really rough here. They were really trying, they were executing a really, really good game plan, a lot of efficiency on the generators as well, giving Yokot some struggle, but now with the agitation, Spirit just sprinting towards the win condition, and that's going to be now the hook stage coming in. Ja even awarding 2 more stages here, and also with more fresh hooks, we easily achieve the first set point for Synapse here. What a wonderful Spirit game as an opener. Well done, both teams here. It comes down to just 1 hook stage. The difficult thing now is, though, I think this is quite a rough loss for X9 here, because they wanted to come out with this Spirit. They really wanted to set the tone, and now you stay on the survivor side and you're facing the Blight, where you also have no room for any mistakes. Cole, what do you expect from X9 in the upcoming trial here?
I honestly don't know. Like we were highlighting how much momentum was going to matter in this, you know, and to be so close to clutching that victory and not quite making it. But I don't know. Again, we have only seen 1 Blight set so far. We saw it go very well for the killer. We saw it go very well for the survivors, and I don't know what to expect from either team here on that, because we just haven't seen enough of it.
Seems like we have a very open second set here, because I have to agree with you. Either X9 is making a turn, discussing it, setting up, then coming with their aggressive playstyle on the gens again and smashing it in the second set, or Synapse now actually taking over with so much confidence. We will see how it's going to be played out, and we will show you the second set right after a short break.
Alright folks, we are loading into the last stand of North America with X9 going down 1-0 in that Spirit set. They have to come back in this Blight set, as Ja will take a very fast first chase against Dark on the Blight, a departure from the usual Yokot on Killer, and that is a fast down onto Ja, who will be put on a hook immediately. And this is not what you want to see to make your recovery here, as Ja will be going into a hook in the middle of the map, and there's no gen progress for this first down. And we're also seeing Dark bring in both Discordance and Dying Light, so he knows no one's doubling a gen. I don't have to worry about something popping super early, and he can just sort of hold this hook and the gens at the same time.
Yeah, this is incredible. When I was asking you in the previous trial, what do you expect from X9 coming into this, I expected a lot of answers, a lot of possibilities, but definitely not hoping for anything that we see right now here, because this is not how you're going into the next set after losing the first set point and the pressure being all on your shoulders. Visto is being found here as well, luckily dropping the pallet early enough. But as you mentioned, no one is doubling at the moment. We do see a couple of generators though receiving some progress here. We do see 50% over here, 10% over here, and Claudette has just started a generator as well, so we can see that this very early hook by Dark has also thrown the Survivor team off a little bit, and they are not on their objectives just yet. This one is going to be a very clean trade between Wispy and Jar, and Dark feeling so confident and having so much time on his side that he can even go for this one here, but unfortunately not going to end in a second quick down.
But X9 is at least going to be getting some perk value here. Jaw is the survivor who's got Dead Hard, who's got Decisive Strike. He is the person they want tunneled. Whiskey will also be getting Deliverance up for that 1-for-1. But I want to highlight, X9 have cooked up some spicy builds, and Wispy does not have Unbreakable, which we typically see with Deliverance. So he's going to need someone to come pick him up, which did happen. Jaw now just running Shack, has already pre-dropped Shack out. Not a lot of fillers like on here. Actually does have this, but he will now be in a position where he has to DS, and he will still have a Dead Hard after it. But it's really kind of rough to try and hit a Dead Hard against a Blight on ping. He will make a God Filler, but we'll have to see how much longer he can actually play this chase with that Dead Hard possibly coming in to save him once again. And surely 2 or more gens being cranked in the background.
Yeah, and this is now super punishing for Dark, because he does lose the time with the DS, and this was super smart. I think that was intentional. Vaulting back into the killer, faking it as a lost mind game, making the killer believe he can just go for a swing, and then going for the dead out with the perfect timing here. Very well done, and we do see the punishment for that. Out of nowhere, 2 generators completed, and another half of a generator being cranked out in the distance as well here. So X9 with a great recovery play and showing us the Survivor cooperation and team play to absolute perfection here. Not going to reach that generator in time, can only apply the pop goes to Weasel to the main generator. But Dark needs to watch out now from a very luxury position in the early game to a potential difficult spot in the midsection.
Yeah, and the key thing here is going to be that FTP, the FTP coming in onto Jaw, because Wispy was able to get to that unhook uninjured, he's able to make sure that Jaw will not be as easy to tunnel out. Now Dark will know he's got a Dead Hard on this too, but he essentially has to chew through 3 health states potentially for this, as he will get onto Jaw once again to try and go for that tunnel out. But a 3rd gen is popped, and you really need to get this down so quick. But now also Haunt is here for a body block, and at a 4 lane, it's so hard to get around that. That will be a tag onto Haunt, and Dark just still has Jaw in his sights.
Jaw still in the side, a decision to make. Will it be the elimination onto Jaw, or is he going to rotate? I do believe he has no reason to go for anything different, but Dead Hard coming out once again. Now remember what Cole said, it's hard to hit a DH against the Blight, especially on ping, and Jar just casually doing it twice in the same trial here, showing us the absolute expertise of the X9 survivors. They are doubling up in the distance as well, the 3rd survivor being on an objective as well, so they're not wasting any time and cranking every single possible percentage into the generators here. Jar now unfortunately removed from the trial, but they will get generator number 4 for that. And now it's going to be interesting what Dark is doing next, because hopefully he will get a quick down here, because otherwise it might be rough for him.
This gen split is not good for him. He does have 2 gens opposite corners of the map, but there's a lot of clutter in the way, which kind of works out for Blight being able to bump. This gen is so close to being done, it will get popped, but yeah, Jaw playing that first part of the game so cleanly, buying a lot of time, and then in the end, dying in the right spot. This has allowed his team to play out the map exactly the way they'd want to against Blight. And now Dark has to sort of find someone. Ideally, they want to get Haunt reset for the start of this 3v1. They can play this slow because of this gen split. And crucially, Dark not having spies from the shadows will make it a lot easier for the survivors to sort of play around this, but they don't know if he has it or not, because Discordance doesn't give it away. They just know he's got Dying Light. So they're probably going to be playing out a little bit slower anyway, as we're still waiting to see if Haunt will get reset, what the other survivors are doing. Surely they're waiting to have 3 healthy survivors before actually showing themselves and working on a gen.
And Dying Light is a very interesting perk to mention here, because I do believe that Dark expected a little bit more from this perk at the moment when he would enter the stage where only one generator is remaining, meaning like that already 4 or 5 stacks were supposed to be on this perk and not just 2, because so far wonderful rush there, by the way, into the injury of Wispy. But so far X9 with the great recovery play by Jaw, with the DS, with the DH 2 times, so much time was lost that Dying Light is not a very significant perk yet. Meanwhile, they are already working on the final generator here. So he was really hoping for more there, I believe. Good for him that he gets the next stage in. But unfortunately, that's going to be Wispy. So that's not going to be the most relevant for this perk. Going to not hook this survivor. Maybe realizing that he might be in time pressure and better reaches over towards this generator right here. But the survivors have beautifully split already. And Haunt is already ready to pick up Wispy. X9 playing really well right now.
Wispy just choosing to die in the exact same spot Jaw did for his last hook. Dark thinking, wait, I don't have time for this, but now they're going to get the pickup anyway, and if you're not going to hook him now, when are you going to hook him? And Wispy does have Deliverance available as well, so even the hook onto him is an extra stage towards your win con, but not a lot of pressure in the grand scheme of things, depending on what Vishwitz is doing here. I believe it was Haunt that went for the pickup. The chase is going to continue on to Wispy, who can really just afford to go back to that same corner, just buy as much time as he can, and Dark is really in a lose-lose situation here as far as that's concerned. He's probably going to pick Wispy now, having checked his gens before, and the survivors are just pre-leaving. They do not want to get tagged once this unhook comes in. They'll probably wait until Wispy pulls himself, I would imagine.
Yeah, this is so rough now for both sides here a little bit. The survivors need to be really careful with the next step, because if they have too short of chases and keep handing out Pop Goes to Weasel stacks, that will be rough. But Wispy just going for an unhook themselves in the distance there, so nothing is going to be lost. And on the other hand, Dark now needs to really watch out that he's not overcommitting to a chase, even though he would love to get Dying Light stacks, even though he would love to get Pop Goes to Weasel stacks. You cannot overcommit to any survivor here. You need to find this perfect balance between guarding the generators and following one of these survivors. And as long as he's in a good balance, I do believe that Blight is really able to put up a great show here, but X9 really not making it easy for him, because they play so coordinated right now. Every single second that Dark is giving away is immediately pushed into the generators here, so the killer really doesn't have any wiggle room for making mistakes. And this is one of these mistakes we were mentioning, rushing a little bit too far, not finding the collision, and losing a little bit of time here on this filler pallet while Wispy is holding W and reaches the next pallet as well. Cole, this might be too long of a run.
I think it is. Wispy is now chasing around main building. We saw that the gem by the log pile is the one they keep pressuring. That's the one they're going for. We know they're not doubling it because the Scorch is lighting up, but if you hook now, you will lose this gen almost certainly. And the funny part is, Dying Light is getting really encumbered by the survivor perks. We saw it when Jaw got DS, he became the obsession. So his second hook was not a Dying Light stack. And then when Wispy FTP'd him, that meant, okay, well, Jaw is now obsession, is not obsession again, so second stack there, but the hook onto Wispy, not a stack either. So we've only got 2 hooks stacks this entire time, and Paco's the Weasel, fairly limited value as well. The regression is just not coming in, as now Wispy has been unhooked from his second. We can possibly get a third fresh here onto Haunt, and that would result in a 2k8 with 3 fresh, which is a bit of a middle ground from the results we had in the previous set, but probably not what Dark is going to want. This is a game where you want to get that 4K. You want to make sure your survivor team has as easy of a win con as possible to close out a 2-0 here. But Haunt will go down, and I don't think they will have a gate open in time. Oh, well, I stand corrected. So they're almost certainly going to take their out here. Haunt is going to get hooked too far away from that gate. It is not possible to save this. I'm expecting the Vishwitz and Wispy will just leave right now.
X9 is literally playing faster than we can anticipate it and cast it, honestly, because immediately having the exit gate ready as well, and I totally agree. Of course, it's a little bit painful to leave Haunt behind here, because it would be 2 additional hook stages, pushing it all the way to 8. But on the other hand, 8 on Blight on the Macmillan realm is still a very good result, and knowing the roster of X9 with Wispy, with Visteris, and all these crazy experienced players on killer and survivor side, I do feel like 8 stages is something X9 can deal with, and something that X9 will happily accept here going out. But it does seem like they are setting it up. At least one survivor in our back is constantly almost cyberbullying the killer here and making sure that he's aware that someone is behind him.
Yeah, and this is a little bit of a deja vu moment. We saw this in just the last game. You had a survivor on hook near an exit gate, and X9 deciding to play to the limits, try and pressure the gate right in the killer's face to make him choose. And they're doing it once again. We've got a survivor in position to try and go for this pull if they can... Oh, well, I guess they're just going to leave. Okay. They do go for the 2K8 after all, but they were possibly going to be able to try and get that other exit gate open and pull, but they end up deciding it's not worth it, and they will take their outs. This will be a 2K8 with 3 fresh and a very, I think, achievable win con for X9's killer, depending on how these chases play out in the next game.
Yeah, very nice result for X9 at the end here. Still with the 8 stages, very, very good for them. And we mentioned it, the roster of them, super strong, super dangerous on the Blight side as well. So X9 here, for me, I will just say for us, in a favorable position. So let's see if X9 is pulling it. And if they push us into the Demogorgon tiebreaker, we'll find out in a moment. Welcome back, everyone, to the potentially last trial between the X9 and our wonderful team Synapse. Synapse on the survivor side, Sir, Mordo, Dark, and Pally, and we're opening this with a great firecracker.
Yeah, the blind mid rush. I feel like we've seen this before onto, I think it was Ryan's pinhead. Pally with the firecrackers to interrupt killer powers. He's been on point this whole event, as he's now going to make 2 stuns into Shack, and Wispy with a little bit of... Oh, the bump logic does connect, but this will be a drop on the Shack pallet and another stun. Pally buying as much time as he can. And it's very interesting to see the Blights not opting for Brutal Strength. Might be banned, actually, as Pally, once again, on a filler pallet, will make it back to Shack, but he has nothing left here other than the Vault, and there should be a down onto him. He will hop Locker, but I think the Fatigue will not quite be enough as Pally makes the Vault, absolutely juicing with the Shack, with the filler pallets. And on ping, though, Pally's in Wispy's head right now.
Now going to be Pally down right here with the punishment of 1 generator already being completed. We do see now going for the pallet break here. Pop goes to Weasel Kick coming in as well. Will we apply it to the gens, or will we stay further around here next to the hook? But it does seem like we already have the next survivor on the main building, 2 of them, but Wispy opting to go for the Shack all the way over towards Mordo, right next to our hooked survivor, not going too far away from the hook, just checking out a little bit where the survivors of Synapse are. And now we're going to a little bit around here. Mordo going to take the next one, and if that's going to be a quick down here, they might be in a little bit of a difficult spot. Will be interesting as Wispy is going for the tunnel out.
Yeah, but Pally this time, we saw how much time Jaw was able to buy, in part because he had Dead Hard and Decisive Strike. Pally has no anti-tunnel to speak of, and yes, Mordo has that Deli Unbreakable ready to go, but a 2nd gen pops, but Pally is going to have a much harder time with this chase, as this will be the 2nd down onto him. He is on a pallet, but he does not have teammates nearby to cover for him. And Wispy opting for the spies from the shadows as well over Discordance will have a much easier time sussing out if someone is going to come for the save onto Pally, who's once again being brought into the middle of the map. And look at this, he's right next to a gen. There's a gen in Shack, there's another one by this log pile. There are so many gens here that Wispy can guard with Pop and Dying Light available. Unfortunately for him, Pally was the obsession this whole time, so no Dying Light stack so far, but also an injured Mordo working on this gen is going to be in a very precarious situation. He will force Locker again as Wispy just goes back to the hook, expecting that the Locker pull was there to buy some time for the unhook, but there is some scratch marks, but no visual confirmation on whose scratch marks those were. It must be Kate.
Now We do see rotation again, 3 injured survivors now. Wispy going to rotate back towards the main building here, and that's going to be the stun with the pallet here. Pali doing really, really well with the timing there as well, making sure that the stun is not going to work out, not going to be the down just yet, and makes it over the pallet in time as well. Another generator coming out as a punishment for that double vault, though, is going to lead into a quick down, but that was quite some time loss, and they double up generator number 4. Cole, they might make that happen here.
I think they will, but they have to be so careful. There's 2 injured survivors right here. This can be a snowball so easily. Wispy has to know. This moves it down onto Kate as well, and this could be a basement hook. She's not the type with Deliverance. They ideally wanted Mordo to be the one hooked, and Wispy, it looks like he's looking for that snowball, knowing that Mordo has nothing to work with here. He'll take it from the locker, and surely Mordo gets pulled here. And you can go basement, as Sir already in position to pick up Kate. I feel like possibly going... Oh, the slug. He knows. But he's going to be on Ace, I think. No?
Yeah, this is now interesting, because we do see a little bit of back and forth again. We do leave Mordo onto the hook. Dark being injured here as well. A potential snowball coming out, but you need to make sure that you keep an eye on Sir as well, who was able or almost able to pick up Mordo here, but Wispy rotating back in time. The good news is, though, since you know where the survivors are, you are aware that no one is working on the generators just now. So if Wispy is able to connect quick injuries and downs together, we might look towards a 4K here.
And this is when you're in such a good position as a Blight. Everyone being injured, they do have some good healing perks, but it's now... Wispy's gonna know Kate's on one side of the map, Ace is on the other side of the map, and they're both injured. It becomes so much easier to pick them off, and with Spies from the Shadows, Kate has been found out. There will be a pop on this gen. The gen progress they were getting is gonna be lost, and Kate has to be so careful to not give another down over, as Spies is just lighting up constantly. But Wispy just gonna sit on this hill. He has eyes on the hook, he has eyes on that gen. He can now choose, and Ace has to be very careful here. The pallet will go down, but now that's just a little bit more safety from the middle of the map being gone, as now also Sir being chased into the side of the map where Kate has been. Mordo pops that deli, so a little bit of a bait from Ace, but now it's down onto him, and this is just where things are getting so far out of control. Kate working on gens this whole time, but they don't have any reset tools available except for Kate's medkit.
Yeah, this is so difficult for the survivors now, because they lost first so much time. They were in such a struggle, so it's difficult for them to fight back from it. And yeah, you do gain 2 minutes of hang time, but you do need to make sure that you are getting the pressure back into that final generator. And Wispy really has a great setup here. The last 3 remaining generators are in one line, with basically connecting straight through the hook, and the hook being in the middle of this entire setup. Dark being found as well, leaving Mordo as the last survivor standing here. And even if he's rotating over to Sir now, the generator pressure is dropping towards 0.
And snitches from the shadows, ratting that Kate out, resetting behind the rock. That is the 4th fresh, which will mean 2 more hook stages is win con, because we only had 3 in the previous game, and now Wispy able to just try and find... We are Nancy's trail, I believe. Yes, Nancy now being in his sights, and she's just going to run behind the water tower, but Wispy has no need to really commit there. That's past where his gens are, it's past where the hook is. All he has to do is just wait and try and catch out anyone going for this rescue, as the hook on Kate is so close to 2 of these gens, and he just popped the 3rd one.
Now going to rotate over once again here. A lot of chaos going on at the moment, and luckily Sir not going to get the quick down there, but we are rotating back. Wispy here moving back towards the shack where we do have our hook stage, and trying to get them as quick as possible. Dark injured, Mordo injured, Sir injured. Synapse really running after the pressure. Mordo being immediately downed as well. We are going to move towards hook stage number 7, and at this point it is really rough to get any percentages into these generators, as the pressure is just so high. And on top of everything, Mordo only has 60 seconds until the elimination is coming through, so the survivor team not even having time for proper decision making here.
Wispy finding Dark on the reset was so crucial, once again highlighting why Spies from the Shadows is such a powerful perk for these S tier sets. Sir will be on this gen, and with Resilience he's got about 40 seconds left, but Kate's now in chase. She's in the locker, and this is surely going to be Kate dying. She will be pulled out of the locker, and when Kate gets hooked, that is win con secured for X9. She has DS, actually, so not quite yet, but I don't think she's going to work with. She has the pallet, but it's not going to be enough, as she is zoned edge map, and she has to just pull a miracle. And Wispy leaves to try and go for the ace working on the gen. Dark certainly going to be going for that save now, and this should be an opportunity to get Mortal off the hook. It will be the Wispy committing to ace that main building instead of going back to 200 drivers. Zones ace towards the middle of the map where the resources have been used. He has basically nothing to work with now, so this either way will be that final hook onto, or the final hook for the win con rather, onto the ace. And he will be also hooked near the gen he was working. So the survivor's also going to be losing all of that progress. And, ladies and gentlemen, the first Dying Light stack of the game.
Yeah, Dying Light seems to be a very struggling perk here today. Not going to be in the best position because somehow all these stacks that you really want to see are not coming in together here. We are now going to see the Mordo being downed once again here as well. So Wispy really making sure that the Survivor team doesn't have any wiggle room, and that leaves Injured Dark on the map here. He's easy to track since he will leave some noises, and he's even easier to track with our tools that we brought into the Spies of the Shadows here, doing a good work, and that call is a very clean 4K by Wispy.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mordo being the survivor with Calm Spirit would ideally be the last one standing. Unfortunately for them, it's not. It was, in fact, Dark, the last survivor standing, who will be found out by Spies once again. The 4K one here. This is the result we would expect on Suffocation Pit 1. So I suppose it stands to reason we can expect it on Suffocation Pit 2. But that will mean that after this game, we are going into that Demogorgon tiebreaker that we were so hyped to see. And going from so many S-tier sets into a more standard B-tier killer is going to be really interesting to see, because we've not had that more typical gameplay.
Yeah, this is so rough now, because we talked about momentum earlier, and X9 was in that difficult spot. They were running after their performance and what they were trying to look for, so Synapse really took over, and now X9 made the wonderful comeback. So right now X9 riding this wave and realizing they are in the good spot here. They are making sure that Synapse is staying under control, and therefore the Demogorgon set will be rough for Synapse more rather than X9 here. But we will find out who's going to perform better, and we are moving forward into the Demogorgon tiebreaker right after a short.
Alright folks, this is it, with Synapse taking the Spirit set, X9 taking the Blight set. It is all down to Demogorgon after a brief no-fault restart after a very unfortunate game crash on part of one of our players. So Wispy will be making his way up the middle of the map to try and find some Synapse survivors and placing down two portals, one in the middle of the map, one where he spawned, and crucially we will see here both exit gates are on this side of the map, which could be a very exciting endgame because Hatch will also be here. Wispy does see some survivors, but so far apparently content to just hold this choke and see if he can catch anyone out on the cross, and the first chase will be Ace.
The Ace, and interesting to mention, first of all, Mordo is not in the survivor roster anymore. Jiggy coming in now on the Demogorgon, maybe being a special demo Jiggy Juker for Synapse here, but Captain Mordo rotating out here. Very interesting to see that. Wispy trying for a couple of preparations on the dash attack and then deciding that it's not going to be successful. Therefore, so far, our survivor staying on the tail of the survivor, doing a good job, but unfortunately not able to move further, and we are going to see a quick down relatively early in the trial here.
Yeah, that one's gonna look like ping on Sir's end. Very unlucky. And with the first hook coming in, that is a Pain Resonance. First Pain Resonance we've seen in a long time after all these S tier sets. And now Wispy taking advantage of the Demogorgon's map mobility to go ahead and portal over to the middle of the map and pop this gen, interrupt this gen, gets a pallet out of the deal as well. Zoning also this survivor towards the top side of the map. It did appear to be the Dwight. And this is where we can see Demogorgon's ability to teleport come in handy, but so far he's content to hold this side of the map and not interrupt the topside gens. I want to highlight the survivors have gotten a pretty good gen spread. There's 3 on one side, 3 on the other, and 1 in the middle. There are no 4 gen shenanigans to be had here, as now Jiggy has one of these Auto Haven specialty edge map fillers and will take an M1 for it and just take his distance towards the top side of the map, as Wispy is not going to commit.
Wispy not going for the commitment right here, spreading a couple of injuries across the survivor team. If they would go for the reset on Jiggy, they would also lose a little bit of time here. Now the next one coming in onto Sir as well, and now interesting decision. Will it be Sir? Will it be Pale facing the next one? And it will actually be Sir who is rotating towards this new style of edge map action palette, and that's not go. Oh, beautiful one there by Sir, ducking away under the shred of Wispy here. Really, really great to see that, and we do see the punishment 1 generator. Wouldn't even be surprised if Dark might pop us out of nowhere and go for the body block, but Sir doesn't need it. It's just confidently going onto the stun here, and this seems to be a really good run now.
Sir continues to play the bottom side of the map against Wispy, but this is potentially risky depending on how much gen progress they get for it, because all of the resources on this side of the map are being used up. We do actually hear this gen right next to us is being worked as well. They need to pop that gen so they don't have a 3-gen scenario on this side of the map where the hooks are, where the resources are used, and where the gates and hatch are. But Wispy gonna head and hook instead, and Pale, who's injured, is getting pushed off that gen. That will be a hook on top of the gen and a pop on it as well, which is disastrous for the survivors here. There is nothing left for them on this side of the map. And it's going to be so difficult to try and actually get Pale out of here, especially with the forced hesitation that Wispy is once again bringing. You cannot 1-for-1 this and also give Sir enough distance to go anywhere, as Pale is still on this side of the map, and 2 downs here with a basement as well could be absolutely tragic.
Absolutely, yeah, and Pale going on a good one here once again, bringing out the firecracker and the perfect moment, inviting Wispy to a shack party, and we can see that Wispy is not really feeling the invitation, is instead back towards the hook. Dark somehow receives the hit here, but that's going to be the quick 2-tap into the trade. Sir now being on the run as well, will have a little bit of protection by the base kit BT, but eventually has to drop the pallet here. Great patience by Wispy, getting a resource out of the way, not allowing any additional distance through the sprint that is awarded after attack here, and therefore now being in a good spot because the injured survivor Sir still being around, no protection any longer. That's a double down and 2 injured survivor. The game is turning 180 against Synapse here.
And that is the forced hesitation value. Sir could get nowhere. And because of that restart, the survivors surely knew that Wispy had this. They just had to go for the play anyway. They were so short on time. And now with Pale being run over to the top side of the map, he will get his distance, and maybe this will buy time because he has resources here at least to work with. But Wispy is probably just not going to commit. Yeah, Wispy's going back. He knows I've got 2 injured survivors over here. I've got a pop ready to go. Takes the mid-gen. And now in the 3v1, with the gate situation being what it is, I don't think there's a world where the survivors can hope to get outs.
Yeah, really hoping to get the outs here, hoping to get all the generators done, to be honest, because this would be the most important thing. Now 5 gens done to make the win condition a little bit harder for X9 and forcing them to get stages out of the door. And we do see the next down onto Dark here on the shack. Pale, Jiggy still being injured, so they are smashing the generators. But gotta say, Cole, I'm a little bit worried for Synapse here.
Oh, I'm worried too. The injuries that we're going over and into the 1-for-1 is just so rough. And Pale getting reset Now, I believe that had to be Jiggy who was resetting him. Yeah, and so they're both found here. And crucially, there's ARP. Wispy knows, all right, I can just sit here in the middle and hold this choke. All 4 of my gens are the 3 bottom side gens and this one in the middle right next to Hook. He can just stand here and there's no threat. Actually, looks like Jiggy is working over on this bottom side gen. We have eyes on everyone. Wispy is apparently choosing to commit to Pallet here almost. Or maybe just get the pallets out of Pallet and then leave, but yeah, he's just gonna hold this. Probably expects there's not enough time for Jiggy to crank out this bottom side gen next to that gate because there's nothing on it already.
This is so rough for them right here. Dark is going into the second stage in a moment as well, and this is just so rough. This is one of these situations you really don't want to be in as the survivor team, and when you are, you really wish that you could reward 1 or 2 decisions you've taken previously. But Dark now going into the second stage, 5 stages already. Jiggy being on this outside pallet here won't have a long run, except he's pulling something magical here. But Wispy, with all the confidence we've seen in the chases, but something like this is what we need. A little bit of wild looping action on the edge map. This is what we are looking for. Jiggy doing a phenomenal job here, going for the fake one. When expected to triple vault here, bringing some distance between Wispy and himself, and these are the chases we really need, but unfortunately this being shut down as well. But this gives a little bit of wiggle room at least.
And as we saw previously, this hook is a Pain Resonance hook. We've got Pale stealthing on the bottom side of the map. The survivors here hoping to get at least this mid-gen done, because they probably expect they're never going to break the bottom side 3-gen. But Dark getting caught out on that gen will go down. There's a Pop Goes the Weasel available for this gen, which actually, no, has been entity blocked after this hit, because it's been regressed 8 times. Wispy fighting to keep that gen in play as the unhook comes in onto Jiggy with Dark slugged in the background. Now we know where the last 2 survivors are, and they're being chased deeper towards Shack. They have nothing to work with except the hitboxes on these rocks to stop the shred, but Pale won't quite make it, and now Jiggy is certainly next in Wispy's sights.
In Wispy's side is the worst thing that can happen to you right here. They have just gone for the pickup, but let's see if they are able to pull something more here. 3 generators have been completed. Cole, that would mean that the survivor team of X9 could ignore a 3-gen setup in the upcoming trial if this remains to be the win condition. And Dwight being caught here again. Jiggy coming around next to Dark. Pale still being on the ground here as well. Such a rough spot for the survivors. They are so busy with so many things, but unfortunately not with the generators.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, your hope here as Synapse is you play for the 4K1, you play to tie, redo the set, and get a better result the next time you play Survivor, because I don't think that you're going to pop 2 more gens. You're gonna pop 1 at best, and you'll be happy to have that. A really unfortunate scenario earlier when Dark was on the hook in the middle of the map and Jiggy and Pale were split. There was no way that they could have reset each other, and all these survivors being forced to stay injured this entire time is so difficult. And now with the death onto Dark, you really only need to find and down 1 survivor on this side of the map, and it is a survivor that has been found at the TL wall. Because remember, you hook them on the side of the map, you watch them die, make sure they don't pop mid, you've got a hatch spawn at Shack, and then you've got both gates and eye shot of each other, and there's nothing that last survivor can do. You don't even have to worry about slugging for the 4K.
Oh, this is so rough here. If we look onto the entire best of 3, Synapse started with such a wonderful performance, took the first set point, then struggled in the second set and being 4K'd against the Blight. There it was 1 generator, but then on the tiebreaker, on the Demogorgon, one of the weakest killers, they actually go for the worst result potentially in this best of 3. Synapse really starting off good, and then everything falls apart here, and that does does now look like a very clean 4K by Wispy after a little bit of edge map action by Pale here. Not entirely sure if that was the plan when they switched out Mordo, because he usually does take a lot of responsibility as the team captain in terms of survivor strategy. Here might have been a mistake to rotate that player out here, but maybe I'm just saying it because Mordo and me played on multiple teams together and I'm a little bit biased here. But so Cole, we mentioned it, win condition is now 3 ignoring the 3 gen basically, just getting 4 gens out of the way here. You do not need to worry about the hook stages at all, except there would be a tie with the 2 remaining gens and then a hatch escape, which is unlikely. But how do you recover as the Synapse killer before the upcoming trial with such a pressure on your shoulders?
I think you pray that you locked in something crazy in your build. I don't know if you would have expected to have to play this win con as a thing. Like, you lock in the build, you're going off of the expectation of what you're gonna get, and you know, I do want to point out 4K2, very good result for Demogorgon. The last time we saw Wispy play this, it was against a Turnum, and Rocket got a 4K2 in that set. So Wispy apparently taking notes after that game, and it has paid off.
Absolutely, Wispy has shown a phenomenal answer to Synapse performance here, really shutting them down, and now on the Demogorgon even coming out with a dominant performance. While Pale is dying in the basement, we are already going to set up the upcoming trial. X9 in a luxury spot here, can ignore a 3-gen setup. As long as 4 gens are repaired, they will take the ticket into the next match going against Sinners. We will find out if Synapse will pull something unbelievable, and we will show you that after a short break. Welcome back, everyone. We are here for the tiebreaker set with the Demogorgon. Yokadex has to make the impossible happen and get a 4K before 4 generators are completed. And then we would only face the tie condition here, but I do think Synapse realistic option is to just go for the replay here. X9 Vistruous, X9 Jar, Haunt and Wispy are taking the responsibility on the survivor side, and so far having a good start. 40 seconds being off the clock, off the corrupt intervention, going for a lot of safety here. We see them holding W to the distance, so that's going to be now the next or the first chase here between these survivors, and the killer Jar is going to take a quick tag, and honestly, Cole, this survivor needed to be down 20 seconds ago.
Yeah, you really need to pray for some major mistakes from the survivors in order to recover from this. Again, because the build's being locked, you're playing with 3 perks function. That no, it's not going to matter. You're not going to get any crazy plays with a forced hesitation from an infectious fright. The save the best for last, as now all of chat's raging about that. And now with the chase being switched over to Vistruous instead, Vistruous kind of gets a little bit lost and runs into the killer. Not what you want to see, but 2 injuries is not the early down that you need to make this work.
Yeah, and it's so sad to see that no one escapes death there on the side of Yokadex. Before everyone is ranting, we just remind you once more, the killers and the survivors have to lock in their builds. So he was not picking a no one escapes death because he is wild today. He actually had to lock that in, and basically this perk doesn't matter at all anymore because of the win condition here. So basically Yokadex on top of the rough win condition, playing with 3 perks right here, and with 3 perks and a long chase such as Haunt. Meanwhile, we see all the injuries being reset, so X9 not even going to play aggressive here. That could potentially backfire if Yokadex gets a few good downs. They are keeping it safe, and that makes it even more difficult.
Absolutely. The chase continuing on to Haunt, who is playing around this palette. This is not a particularly safe palette, but he's winning enough of these 50-50s that he's buying his team time. Again, that reset coming in on the Vistruous means the snowball is not going to happen, and someone's coming in, probably has a flashlight, but I don't think this is an angle. It's a firecracker if he turns the wrong way. But there's a firecracker save on the Haunt! He's out!
This is incredible what they are doing right here. X9 being absolutely on the juice right here. We are going to see the next chase, and that's going to be Haunt immediately going back on the gun. But even these half of a minute that they lost due to the firecracker set is so unfortunate here for Yoka. 2 gens already done, halftime on the win condition for just 1 hook stage.
Yeah, and I had to roll back to see who the firecracker gamer was, and it was, in fact, Wispy pulling up to save his teammate, as 1 hook only for this is just disastrous. And it looks like they've also broken the possible 3-gen on this side of the map as well. So that doesn't really matter, but it does mean it's that much easier for survivors to pressure gens without risking a snowball, because they're never going to have to be grouped up, as the tunnel will continue on to Haunt. But he's got the entire rest of the side of the map, and he's got a bust there, possibly a fun bust. But Yokot switching over to Vistuous, who can just take his distance. He's got a God Killer here, and he's got Shack as well. But he's going to run towards the middle of the map instead and try and play some of these tiles. We got a 4-lane here, but he's actually just held his distance away back towards that bust, back towards a filler pallet instead. This is a pretty gross bottom side of the map for the survivors.
Yeah, even though with these 3 injuries, usually you would feel great as a Demogorgon to have 3 injuries. Your pressure is spreading, you can take potentially some downs, but this is not looking too good here. Vistuous, Haunt and Wispy are still having enough resources, and more importantly, they are close to their win condition already. That's why they don't have to worry about the injuries at the moment. That's why they don't have to worry about Yokarex potentially snowballing, because also they are keeping him here on the bottom side of the map. Meanwhile, they are able to go for the generators. And keep in mind, we do have a wonderful 3-gen setup here on the bottom side, but they can even ignore it. Therefore, Yokarex either finds the skill for some magic, or Synapse is dropping.
And unfortunately for Yokot, having already used the Pain Resonance from Haunt, that one is not going to provide him that much relief just to pop on this gen. And I just love the fact that the crouch tech being a mechanic, it looks so goofy in these chases when Haunt will just crouch preemptively expecting the shred to come through, and you bait out the shred or not. But it is a heads-up play to possibly avoid that and buy just a little bit more time, as now Vistuous, once again, the survivor being chased. He's got a long wall here, which is a great tile to play against Demogorgon, but I don't think he's going to be able to make that, no, and that will be a good shred alongside this window, and this can possibly be the pain res that Yokot needs to try and slow this game down. It is a pain res, but we have Haunt being saved in the distance, and Yokot going to the other side of the map to try and interrupt what gens might be progressed here.
Right now we would have the tie condition if it's a 4K, so no other generator can be completed, and we are 9 stages away from achieving that. We do get attack onto Wispy, but it needs to be a 2-tap, and once again it needed to be a 2-tap 4 minutes ago, it feels like. Yokarex basically needed to spawn with 3 survivors on the hooks already. That is a good down here, but he doesn't even have the time to go for the hook here. He cannot bring Wispy onto the hook because it would be too many seconds passing by, and if X9 is doubling or even tripling in the distance, then they will knock the final generator out. Therefore, really, really rough here. Jaw not being on a hook whatsoever. Wister is not being on a hook either, so they are losing efficiency right now.
I mean, yeah, Yokot has to play for the chain slug here. Vistuous, ideally, so everyone's fine, but trying to find, I guess Haunt would be on Death Hook, but he's got Shack to play. You really need to get a down more than this tunnel out here. And Wispy gets picked up, so now there's no hope of a chain slug, as where Haunt's being chased is exactly opposite where Wispy has been this entire time. And there's gens on both sides of the map. They only need to get one of them. Haunt can honestly just afford to die in a godforsaken corner of the map and have the 2 survivors doubling one of the last remaining topside gens. But he's also got Bust to play, and he's got a Jaw here coming in for a body block, as Wispy and Vistuous are doubling a gen, but Yokot with the heads up play will portal to it. It's about 75% when it gets interrupted, but once again, now you've got Haunt and you've got Jaw who can double the Shack gen. You just can't split your pressure enough to keep up with this.
Except if he would randomly find a chance to clone himself and be on the bottom and on the top side the same way, but I absolutely agree with you. There is just no chance. Wherever you go on the other side in your back, they are hopping onto the generators, and they are too good in the chases as well. We always mention, yeah, this needs to be a quick down, and there it is now. X9 moving forward into round number 4 in the lower bracket. That's going to be the game tomorrow against Sinners here, so that's going to be one hell of an incredible fight for the American community. North America versus South America, trying to figure out who's going into the lower bracket final. That's going to be one hell of a match, and right after tomorrow we will have the winner bracket final between Elysium and Calamity, going to decide who's going into the grand final already and who has to take an extra turn through the lower bracket here. Interesting games ahead of us, and honestly, Cole, X9 looking so strong with the comeback, especially after dropping set 1, that I feel like they really deserve the win today.
Absolutely. That first set was very close, but these last 2 sets have been much more convincing wins from X9, you know, and this, to add insult to injury here, the gate RNG for X9 is better this game, so they can absolutely play for outs here. They don't have to be content with just, oh well, we got the 4th gen, we're good to go. They can play for outs.
Yeah, this is what we very likely will see, even though Visto is on the hook and about to be eliminated, and Wispy being slugged on the ground. We still have 2 survivors taking progress. The generators, one of them seems to go for the rescue or the pickup here, though. We see them on the top side. That is going to be Jar, but he has some distance, so not going to be in ultimate danger. But Vistus is going to be executed in the Yokat, but there's the no one escapes death, even though it doesn't matter for the win condition. At least it's a kill on top of that. And Synapse, I feel like, played very well, and I really think that it was a great run here all the way, especially in this demo set. Keeping X9 under control like this is definitely not easy.
Yeah, and 4K0 is not at all a result to be ashamed of. I think that's a perfectly acceptable result for Demogorgon, just unfortunately playing to too steep of a win con, as it looks like this will be Haunt dying as well because of the Noed coming in, and honestly, a pretty genius sort of fake whiff onto Jaw earlier so that he doesn't get the speed boost from the hit to bait out the Noed hit, and now Haunt greeting, but doesn't have a whole lot to work with, even not needing to play around shreds. This is just not a safe enough palette to play at the 4 lane.
And meanwhile, we are entering the final chase here for our tournament, and that was a very quick 1v1 to finish it off here. Really, we gotta say it again, great show today, X9 and Synapse. Congratulations to X9 for moving forward, and congratulations for Synapse for great performances in the winter circuit. We remember they knocked down Ariandel in the first round, then made an absolute fantastic run through the event, but unfortunately at some point it needs to come to an end here. Tomorrow, as we mentioned, will be a very stacked day. We are going to see X9 playing against Sinners. This is going to happen at 6 p.m. Central European time, but it's going to be a best of 5 already. We are now entering this late stage of the tournament, and then right after at 8:15 p.m. Central European time, we are going to see Elysium and Calamity in the winner bracket final. So we are cutting down the tournament to the top 3 tomorrow, and one of the teams that is playing will definitely have to leave. Will it be Sinners or will it be X9? Definitely going to be a huge match there between North America and South America. And meanwhile, while we enjoy the X9 survivors hanging on the hook, Cole, we can just start off with saying thank you to you. It was our first time casting together, I believe. It was such a blast. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely, and to you.
Then we have a lot of additional people we need to say thank you to. First of all, we have Ekta and Brian. They casted earlier today and have led you through the match between Night Owls and Sinners. Thank you so much again towards them. Then we have a lot of people in the background, such as the entire caster team, the rule committee being responsible for the rule set and the balance, and for example also the ladder where you can play 1v1 and consistently grind towards your chases, towards your gameplay, and also climb the crown, win some iridescent shards and even some prize money at the end. If you want to join that and play some 1v1s, hit !Discord in the Twitch chat. You will also find the rule set, balancing information, advices, and a great community to discuss everything with. Even at 4 a.m. in the morning, you will find someone in the general chat who will tell you the best perk build for your Blight in your pub matches. Therefore, !Discord, we would love to have you in the community.